Hello Internet, today I want to take this little medallion and turn the carving into something that I can carve on the CNC. Just keep in mind, I'm not a CNC expert, I'm just making this up as I go along and just showing you what I did. My CNC is this little X-Carve from Inventables. I've had it for 4 years and I really rarely use it, mainly because when I got it, I was one of the last ones who got this little underpowered spindle, which it just makes it very fiddly to get anything done. So that's what I'm going to be using today. Now, I've done this before. Long-term viewers might remember this from 3.5 years ago. The difference here is that I had the digital file, a vector graphic SVG file to start with. So it's just a matter of loading it into the software and carving. This time, all I've got is this pin. There is no digital file that I've been able to find. So here I'm starting with an image on a pin, and I want to make it bigger so that I can carve it onto a piece of plastic or plywood or something. I put the pin face down on my scanner and I use that to get a nice flat scan of the image. The pin is dead flat on the glass and the bright light of the scanner ensures a consistently lit object. In the scanning software, I set it to the highest resolution that my scanner would support. I also set it to take a black and white scan, and I selected TIFF for the file format since I wanted a high quality image. And the result was this nice large grayscale image. I'm going to do my best to talk you through what I did on the computer. I loaded my image into Gimp. Gimp is the photo editing software that I use. It's free and it's very well developed. I knew I wanted a high resolution black and white image in order for the import software to be able to give me something that I can carve on the CNC. So I've loaded this in here. I did some Googling and I found that what you want to do is called posterize. So I run posterize and I just took the default and it turns it into gray and black and white, and now I can use the fill tool, flip it to white, and I can convert all this other stuff. I can get all these other little artifacts out here and turn them white. You want to clear this all out here. White for the background, black for the highlights, and that's going to be the part that we want carved out. Now, if you noticed, there are some edges that are not the greatest, and so then I take it into zoom into 400%, and I find the spots where it's missing, and then I can go in here and I can fill these in. Now, you don't have to worry about the fact that, oh, I've got a unsteady hand, because we are way zoomed in here. By the time you zoom it out to actual size, a lot of the imperfections will be glossed over. So anyways, I sort through the entire piece. Oh, and I found some more here that I've got to get converted to white. Here's some more spots. Here's some of the feathers on the back of this figure. And people are going to be curious who have no idea what this is. This is what's called a winged hussar. This is not, which is from Eastern Europe. This is I'll have to look up. I'll put the details on screen maybe. Getting back to the image. The circle, I tried fixing it up, but in the end I just gave up and I just completely erased the circle and I drew a new circle on top. And when all was said and done, this is the image that I used for carving. I've got a nice perfect circle. I cleaned up the spear, I just drew a straight line along it. But anyways, this gives us a pure black and white image with no extra artifacts, and now this can be loaded into the CNC software. So let me do that next. I'm now using the easel software from Inventables, who are the people who made my CNC. On the left side, they have an import image trace option to bring in things like JPEGs or PNG image files. You select your file and then adjust the smoothing and the threshold values depending on your image, and then there it is. I can then resize the image and set the appropriate bit size. Now if you're lucky, you're now ready to carve. My image still had some issues with some of the lines being too skinny for the bit I was using. Here, let me hide the main image, and you can see how I had to manually draw in some lines. This was not that hard, as I could just trace on top of the imported image. And now I'm ready to start carving. Got my laptop hooked up down here in the shop, and I've pulled up my design. from the cloud. USB hooked up to my controller. Over on my little CNC, I've got the material mounted in the board and clamped down. Have to make sure there's room on the side that your clamps aren't blocking the rails. Got a 1/8 inch bit in my spindle, and I've got that brought back. I got to get that set to the exact corner, and then we're ready to start carving. And this is what sometimes happens. Everything was going along nicely. And for some reason the motor went off path here. Unfortunately, the only thing you can do in that situation is start over. Okay, that almost turned out awesome. The winged Hussar carving is great. The circular on the outside, my little underpowered CNC machine, it got out of whack and it went off the edge here. And it's like, oh shoot, it's an old little CNC. I haven't used it in a while. It's kind of underpowered, but I tried again, and I'm having trouble. There's something either misadjusted or there's a fault in it where it was just going off the rails. So I've sort of given up on that. Right now I've got two ideas that I'm considering. And one idea is to get my router and set the bit, and I'll just manually go over this section out here and take it all down to the yellow. Or the other idea is I take it over to my bandsaw and I will just cut it out here and I'll go around and I'll turn it into a medallion. I'm kind of liking that idea. And well, you'll see in the next scene when I decide what I'm going to do. So as you can see, I decided to cut it off and turn it round. I decided that since the original was a medallion, that this would look good as a medallion. And with this trimmed to size, the next step was to whip up a frame. And I will be getting it mounted in the frame, which will be wrapping up this project. So and as for the frame itself, it's no surprise to long-term viewers that I made this out of cherry. I've got a complete video that I'll link up there about where I go into the detail of how easy it is to make this cherry stock. So yeah, this is roughly 2-inch wide cherry. I had some surplus cherry plywood that I put on the back, and I left this mostly without finish here because I thought I was going to glue it down, but I'm thinking actually I'm going to put a couple of screws here from behind. So let's get that done. So there we go, from this to this. Carved, fitted, mounted, framed, ready to be hung on the wall. In a place of honor in the shop. So there we go, that's it for this one, folks. As always, I'd like to thank you for coming by and spending some time in my shop. I hope you found something interesting and enjoyable. If you feel I've earned it, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.